G'day. Continuing these walks in the snowies, having a look in the subalpine areas. This is Dainers Gap on the Kosciuszko road, and a maintenance trail leads up to the left here. And it leads up to just below Moon Rock. Before I head up there, in a soak down here is an example of the type of damage that deer can do. See, they're quite a heavy animal and their hooves are slender, so they dig in really deep. I guess they're attracted here because the grasses are so succulent. One of the many things national parks have to deal with. And this is some of the damage that feral pigs cause. They dig up everything inside. There's a lot of them up in this area. Oops, I've stumbled on some deer. They kind of prance, don't they? National parks operate some traps up here for the pigs. This is where that little wheel track ends, and as I said, it brings us up below Moon Rock. As for the view up here, we can see over here to the Plains of Heaven and Mount Sunrise. This view over here encompasses a fair bit of the ski resort area, from Mount Perisher on the left to Mount Blue Cow on the right. I'll try the telephoto lens for some stills, see if anything comes out. As we see from this still of the highest part of Moon Rock, those large boulders are all separated, so it takes a little figuring to get to that highest one. I won't go any further at the moment while my foot's on the mend, but this area in general can be really heavy going. The heath can be really thick and tall, and the snowgrass is of the clumpy variety. But if we were to continue on from here, we can eventually reach Pretty Point. And so just to finish this segment, a little way down the track we can see to the lake at the Sponners Chalet, and that small rise to the right is Alpine View. Just heading back down to the gap now, but wanted to mention, to do with the hardships of walking in this area, that we must add swamps and bogs to the list. Really difficult to cross, quite huge, so there's a lot of skirting around of enormous plains as well. Back at the gap, now on the other side of the road. There's Mount Sunrise, and the plains of heaven are to the left of there. I'm thinking to get up that way. This is where I'll start. This place might once have been a quarry. This is the way I need to be going. Found a deer track. I'm glad because the snow grass is a really clumpy type. Plants around this area flower later as the elevation rises. This purple pea bush is at the end of its flowering cycle here, but if we were to go up to, say, Perisher Mountain, the same plant would be earlier in its flower cycle. I think this is called bitter cress. Take a guess with coral heath on this one. Wow, I guess this rock was smoothed by ice. Not far now. Here we are. These are the plains of heaven. I'll just have a poke about. It's an interesting place. There's a piece of white quartz over here I'd like to look at. It's a big one. Head over to this little knoll. It's sure to have a nice view. Be pretty hard going in there. It's one big swamp. Wow, I've never seen these small heath plants get so dark before. And the darn pigs are in here. And again we see here to the Perisher Range. the summit seems very open and inviting on this adjoining hill. I'd love to visit it one day. And I must admit, those plains do look rather heavenly. From a distance anyway. If we went in there, we'd be knee deep in mud and copperheads. A fair bit of effort gone into fencing here. I think these quartzes brought a few prospectors in too. Always rubbish. Can't blame them for losing that in the snow. I had the pleasure of coming up here once in winter with a couple of cross-country skiers that I'd met at the campground. And we hung around at that very rock back there. It was Bob and Scott. And guys, hope everything's going well for you. Oh yes, and if there's an animal trail, I always try and follow it. They seem to know the easiest way through an area. Oh, someone's lost their head net. Unfortunately, it's not my colour. And I'm heading back down to the gap now. There's one more segment I want to try and squeeze in today, but I have to get to the start of that by going a little further down the Kosciuszko road. So I'm here now at Wragges Creek, and a maintenance trail runs between those rocks over there. That hill above is the adjacent peak I was looking at from the Plains of Heaven. This is all yellow kunzea. Ah yes, there's the outlet valley from the Plains of Heaven. This hill up ahead is part of a ridge line that comes off Mount Piper next to the resort. I'm not going too much further, I'm just going to get to that saddle. This looks like a loading bay. See, trucks park in the middle and we can roll things off the banks. Maybe it was carved by a glacier. Ah yes, now we can see back up onto the Kerry View Hill. And this is the continuation of that valley. We can see how in the subalpine the trees can be on the top of the ridges and a frost hollow in the valleys. It's a nice looking wombat hole. There's the further track Looks rather committing, doesn't it? This outcrop in the centre island ought to give a good overall view. It's just a really nice little subalpine valley. There's the adjacent hill. Looks really scrubby on this side. Well, there we go, 3 places near Dainers Gap. I'm signing out for today, but hopefully not for the whole video. There's bad weather coming in tomorrow, but not until the early afternoon. So I'm hoping to get back here early and walk up a trail which is on the other side of the road from this one. Here we go. All goes well, I'll be here in the morning. Greetings once again. Everything's looking good to go. I'm heading up. The forecast for rain has been pushed back to a little later in the day. Oh, must be a pipeline up here. Ah, definitely a pipeline. I haven't been up here before, so it's good to fill in the blanks. I'm hoping there might be a view up there, if I can pick my way up this semi-heath slope. Looks like deer tracks. There seem to be a lot of swathes of thick heath up high. Oh, here's one of these little caterpillars. I've never seen them before, and they move really fast. Sorry about that, darling. I'll leave you be now. Sorry, darling. Persevering. I'm being led to the left. But the grasses are becoming really clumpy. And swampy. Oh, there's the peak again, but I don't think I'll be pushing my way up there in a hurry. She looks like a little light rain coming in. That's where I've come up from. And there's the view up to Dainers Gap. And the heath looks pretty relentless. I'd better put on my rain cover. Okay, I'm geared up, and looks like a few passages up here. I'll give them a try. Oh, not looking good. And there's all this sphagnum moss to avoid. looks like I can make it up to this rock, but I'm running out of options. Oh, well, I'm nearly at the top. I'll have to go the heath now. Subalpine heath can be very annoying. Oh darn it, there's more. At least the heath's easier here. Could be a view up here. Why am I not surprised? As we can see, it's a kind of open plateau up here. Rise on the left is Moon Rock. There was a ridge on the other side of the creek back at the pipeline, and this is the highest part of it. And this knoll is fairly broad, but back here is a view to where I've come up from. This is Dainers Gap. And we can see over to the feeder pipes above the Munyang power station. Those are porcupine rocks in the distance. The going looks a lot easier in this section, so I might go over and visit that ridge line. Really cute, these grasses. Can't remember what it's called, but that's the little seed head. Ah, the heath. Always the heath. Well, I've reached the ridge line. There's the knoll I was just on. If we were to continue through that saddle, we'd reach Prussian Plain. And that would be the way to Pretty Point over there. A set of wheel ruts down here. I'll follow them for a little. That gap on the right there leads down to Moon Rock. Well, the ruts lead up through the scrub here. It looks like they came from over there. A pipit just flew out of here. That often means a nest. Better get out of here and let the mum get back. They'll get cold. Fairly faint, but I think this is still them heading north. Fresh digs from feral pigs. Unfortunately, I've lost the ruts now. See what there is to see from up here. Pretty sure this is Thompson's Plain. Ah, another of these black caterpillars. Let's have a look. Oh, it's biting me. What a cutie. I wonder what they develop into. I think I'm closer to Pretty Point than I thought. Might as well head up there. Yes, this is the high point where we can look off. Firstly, Lake Jindabyne. This valley leading off to the west of Andrews Lookout is the valley of Diggers Creek. And to the south we see along the Ram's Head Range with Thompson's Plain. And we can see over to the ski areas at Smiggins and Perisher. Have to be careful here. Sometimes copperheads can be coiled up in the rocks. This ridge has a trig at its north end. Well, it's not exactly a trig, it's actually just a stick held up by wires. But it is a marker nonetheless. Definitely the budget model. And in this view we see back down to Sponners and Rainbow Lake. I might use the telephoto lens for the chalet here. It's a nice looking building. Again we see to Andrews Lookout. And that's the higher part of Pretty Point that I've just come from. Going to head back now, and I'll go the way I know, and that leads to Dainers Gap. First I'm going to go down through that saddle there, and that rise on the right is Moon Rock. Those rotten feral pigs again. Oh, one of my favourites, showy violet. Okay, I'm down to this section, and this is a really horrible swamp. I'm going to keep to the right of it, on the higher and drier ground. This plain is the same one I crossed following those wheel tracks. Oh man. See, there's a lagoon in this paddock. That rock over there is where the wheel ruts cross the plain. Moving on. That's Moon Rock over there. This is worth remembering. It avoids the swamps. We go through this forest here. And once we come out of there, we can cross this grassy saddle and keep the swamps on either side. There's Moon Rock again. Here's where the snow grass leads down. And then when we get to the bottom, there's just one more swamp to cross. I'm going to stick to the fence line. On the other side of the fence are some wheel ruts. And that's how far this is from Moon Rock. And there's the rocky rise above the pig traps. Hey, there's a kestrel. So there we go, the final loop links up with the first walk. Wonderful, really. You might be surprised to hear that it's possible to get disorientated up in that area. Everything is so sameish and never really looks the way it does from a different angle. So yeah, if anyone's thinking of venturing up there, it's good to keep that in mind. So I'm descending to Dainers Gap and the Kosciuszko road now, and my foot's feeling really good. So I'm thinking to wrap it up here. That's it from me. See ya.